Hello and welcome to the beach in Summerland, California. This used to be a major oil producing place. Here oil derricks first went up in the end of the 19th century, and we've still got the oil fields out at sea, but there aren't any on land any longer. And the reason for bringing this subject up right now is because of the news of fuel prices in the United States, which here in California have now got to $4.50 a gallon, and in other parts of the United States are now reaching generally $4 a gallon. And this is seen as being really bad news, but compared to what we have in Europe, it's really extremely cheap. In fact, the only countries which spring to my mind as having a similar price are Russia and Belarus, which incidentally at just under 80 euro cents a litre have a price which is the same as here in the United States. Indeed, most of us are paying well over that. In euros a litre, it's roughly now 1.80 in countries like the UK, France, Belgium, Germany. In Poland it's still a bit cheaper, but it's considerably more than the 80 cents a litre you're paying here. It's about €1.40 a litre. These are prices for unleaded fuel 95, which I'm referring to. Indeed, in Norway, which is one of the largest producers of crude oil in the world per capita, the price is now over €2 a litre. And in Turkey, which is not exactly one of the wealthiest places in Europe, the price of fuel is now around €2 a litre. People in Turkey are paying 2.5 times what people here in the United States, which is considerably wealthier, are actually doing. Now, one of the presidential candidates, well, it's not quite a candidate yet because he's not going to win at all, and that's Newt Gingrich, has come up with this idea that you can get petrol at $2.50 a gallon. And you do this by opening up the reserves in places such as the wilderness in Alaska. Now, I've had a look at some figures, and in Alaska currently produces 0.6% of the world's crude oil production. The United States takes up roughly 18% of the entire world production of oil. Considering the population of the US, that shows that the consumption here is far too high, and that probably is really what I should be getting at. Now, in an ideal situation, I had a look at the figures for reserves, and in an ideal situation, which this isn't because it's pretty difficult to drill there, but let's suppose that the companies are going to all install all the equipment free of charge. Let's suppose that people are going to work there free of charge, and let's suppose the refineries are all going to refine it free of charge. This would add into the world production at very best 1%, at very best. Now, I'm exaggerating here. I've exaggerated right across the board. Now, by increasing US supply by about 5%, we could assume therefore that prices will fall by about 5%. That is, from the current average of around $4, it'll bring the price down by 20 cents. So if the average is $4, that brings it to $3.80. Newt Gingrich reckons he can get it down to $2.50. I'm not terribly certain where the other $1.30 is coming from. I don't think Newt knows either, but he's a populist politician and he couldn't really care less. And let's face it, he's not going to win anyway, so he can say what he likes. The answer, however, is pretty clear. It's to use less fuel. And if the entire basis of the United States architecture in towns and is based around the need to use cars, even if you just have to nip out to the shops and buy some milk for your cornflakes or whatever, you need to use the car, and this is what has to change. Houses need to be built upwards. This is a common theme I keep referring to, not outwards. Reduce the distances, make things more energy efficient. And the attacks that the Republican Party has made on the current administration's energy policy are really incredibly short-sighted. The only way that energy, like coming from the sun or other sources, is going to be made efficient is that it has to receive subsidies at the very beginning. Long term, it will pay, and long term it will mean, as Newt keeps referring to, that no President of the United States has to bow to a Saudi king. Therefore, that's my take on the fuel situation, and here is an oil field out at sea. And here's a dog as well. There's some drilling out at sea, possibly.